Good day, good day, good day. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are joining us from. And welcome to another session of Digital School. All right, so we are live now, and I will quickly share the links with others so that they can join us. If you are here, I want to know whether you can hear and see me clearly. So in the comment, just type, I can hear and see you. Let me know that you can hear and see me as I share the link with others to join. Okay. So if you are here, let me know in the comment section if you can hear and see me clearly. So type in the comment section if you can hear and see me clearly. All right. Okay. Yes. So let's know that you are here. Can you hear and see me clearly? Can you hear and see me clearly? Okay. All right. So share the link with your friends as well. Let them join quickly so that we begin. How to teach yourself programming. So in fact, in today's lesson, we are going to learn how to become a programmer. And I'm going to share with you my personal experiences and the ways to shorten the path to becoming an expert programmer. That's what we are going to learn today. So quickly share the links with your friends. Let them know that we are live. Let them know that we are live so that we can proceed. Okay. Yes. Let us know if you can hear and see me clearly. If you can hear and see me clearly, let us know so that we'll start. Okay. Okay. All right. Good. Wow. All right. So we are about to start now. Just share the link with your friends. Let them join the live session. Then we can start. How do you teach yourself programming? How do you become an expert programmer? Unfortunately, today I'm not going to use any PowerPoint. I have my notes jotted here as a guide to help me because I'm going to share my experiences with you. And over the years, all the tricks that I've learned is going to help you shorten the time to becoming an expert programmer. Excuse me. That is what I'm going to walk you through today. Sorry if you can hear some noise. I think there is very rainy over here right now. The storms are huge. So if you can hear some noise at the background, it's probably because of the storms. All right, but I hope to amplify my voice as well so that you can hear me very well. So those of you around, let me know in the comment section if you can hear me clearly and if you can see me clearly so that I can proceed like that because it's very noisy around here currently. But let's begin today's session of the digital school. So those of you who are hearing Digital School for the first time, this is brought to you by iCreate Ghana, a digital marketing agency, and we run an online community called iCreate Community, and that is where we teach most of these digital skills. So this is our weekly session where we come live and teach various digital skills. So today's session, we are learning how to teach yourself programming. If you are yet to join the iCreate community, you can go to Facebook and check it out. Go to Facebook, iCreate community with Dr. Eonia Obe, and that's my name. So definitely join us there. If you send if you send a join or you click to join, I'll add you or accept the request. A request to join, that's what I meant. Okay, so let's begin. How do I teach myself programming? I know a lot of you out there have seen people program and you like the idea, you want to also become programmers. Now, the next question you're asking yourself is, how at all do I become a programmer? So that is the purpose of today's session. I'm looking forward to bringing other programmers to also come and share their experiences, not in today's session, but in subsequent sessions, probably from next week. We'll be getting other programmers joining me to share their experiences with you. But for today, I'm going to walk you through how you yourself can teach yourself programming. So it's going to be very basic, and we are going to go step by step. Okay, so how to get started to how to become an expert. That is what we are going to look at, and I'll begin with one. For you to start this journey of wanting to become a programmer, you need to establish what your motivation is. So that's the first thing. I mentioned I'm not using any PowerPoint today, so get your notebooks, get your pens, then make sure you write down the points as they come. So the very first point that we are talking about is, what is your motivation for wanting to become a programmer? Okay, this is very important because I have come across a number of people who actually have come, a number of people have approached me wanting to learn programming. You give them all the gist and they start in less than 2 weeks, they are off. And there is a reason for that. I tried analyzing why these people could not keep up learning how to become a programmer or could not keep up with this programming journey. And I realized that they didn't have the right motivation. So the very first thing you want to tackle in this path or journey to becoming an expert programmer is, what is your motivation? Okay, so let's walk through it. One, programming is such that is going to take some time, it's going to take some effort. You need to put in effort, okay, to get things going, because you are going to learn a lot of things. And unfortunately, things keep changing all the time. The programming languages keep being updated all the time. So at any point in time, you have to also be ready to master something new. You have to be ready to learn something new. And it takes only a strong motivation to keep you going. So if you want to become a programmer, why do you want to become a programmer? And a number of people come with the thoughts that, oh, I see people program, I see them do all these nice things on their computers. In fact, if you come to see me sitting behind a computer coding, you may see all the colorful text on my screen and you think it's just nice. And you feel anybody who knows how to code is a genius. And because of that, you also want to be considered a genius by learning how to code. If that is your motivation, I'm sorry to tell you that it won't take you far. Your motivation to get started is what, if it is strong enough, it is what will keep you going when a tough times comes. Along this journey, there are a lot of frustrations, because at any point in time, you could have sat down to write a whole length of code, and just because you left out a single dot or a comma, the whole code that you've written in several days is not working. That is when the frustration can set in. So in those instances, if you don't have a strong motivation, it's going to be very difficult for you to keep up. Okay, so before you start anything at all, make sure you have a very good motivation. What at all is motivating you to learn? So let me share a story with you. how I got interested in programming and how I have kept throughout to this time, how that motivation that I used to get into this has gotten me this far. I started learning programming in 2012, I guess. 2012, yes. When I was in, I think, my final year in senior high school. So in senior high school, I was selected to be one of a team member for the robotics team. And we're preparing for a competition where I think they selected about 10 students out of the whole school. I happened to be part of those 10 students. And among the 10 students, we had like 5 of us who were like the very good students in the school. Then we have about 5 others who were like more technical guys, so they knew more of these IT things. And at the time, I must confess that I had no clue what IT, like I couldn't really maneuver my way around a computer. I didn't know much about computers. Okay, so when we go there, it was more of we, the ones that were expected to be like the sub-brains, therefore we are going to come up with the ideas, we are going to be controlling the things in the team. Rather, we're serving as kind of technicians. And what do I mean by that? So these tech guys, the guys that I'm talking about, the other 5 who were more, they were added to the team because of their knowledge in tech, their knowledge in IT. They were the ones who were telling us that, oh, pick this one for me. So we're basically building robots. Okay, so they will tell you, oh, assemble this for me, do that for me. So it is the instructions that we were following, meaning our intellect didn't really take us anywhere. And I was wondering, the other thing I discovered was that almost every one of my colleagues there, that is, the ones who were there just because of their intellect, they still had some IT knowledge. They have some serious IT knowledge. Like I met one guy who could type very fast, more than I could ever imagine. I was like, wow. So I am kind of competing with these guys in terms of my academics. But outside my academics, what else can I compete with them against? I had people who were able to hack into different Wi-Fi's, people were able to use different like computer skills that they had in-depth knowledge about some of these things. So that is where I started questioning myself. That is it enough for me to be just intelligent? Or if I am intelligent, is it also possible I can add on, since all these other guys that I'm working with right now have all these other knowledge? So I started imagining myself after you graduate from this school, or after we've all completed school, we've all graduated. Maybe you did better than these other guys, but they have some set of skills that will put them at an upper hand than you. Okay, so that was when the story started changing for me. Now I thought to myself that I needed a change. I needed to add some extra value to the knowledge that I had. And if I am able to learn and understand things, then maybe this is an opportunity for me to also use this same skill, go and learn other things to add more value to myself. If I had not taken that bold step, I wouldn't be here talking about this thing today. Okay, so the next thing I did was to go to our school library. Mind you, I was in senior high school then, so the only thing I had access to was a library, of course, that I could go and find information. So I went to the library to look for a book that would teach me some of these IT skills. I saw a number of books in there, but what caught my attention was a particular book that talked about how to create your own website. I was like, wow, if I knew how to create a website, that would be good. Like, that is a good skill that I can have. And I could even create websites for people and collect money from it. So, in fact, that was the genesis of my motivation to start programming. That when I wanted to add value to myself, so that was the initial, because I've seen others that I'm competing with in a way, intellectually, they have extra value. So I also wanted to add value to myself. I therefore went on a quest to look for what value I could add to myself. And I found this book that is telling me that I can also learn how to create websites by myself. So this book is what I picked, and I even borrowed it from the library. I used it and learned a lot of things from it. But the point I am making here that I want to stress on is what is your motivation. If you don't have the right motivation, you are going to stop along the line. Maximum 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, you are going to stop because the journey is not that rosy. You may see people when you see people coding, like a lot of times people come to see me, you're coding like you're fast, you're swift on the keypad. Oh, Charlie, this is nice. I just want to be in your shoes. Like that feeling, everybody wants to be like you. However, they start and they realize that no, it isn't as easy as we thought it's going to be. Okay, so if you don't have the right motivation, it's not going to work for you. So that is why I'm spending so much time on this one. Make sure that if you are here this evening watching this video or this morning, depending on the time that you are watching this video, let's just make yourself a promise that if you are really going into this, then you are going into it for life. It's going to take a long while. You are going to have to persevere. You are going to have to go through a number of frustrations. But if you are motivated enough to get through it, you will get through it and become the expert that you are looking to becoming. All right. So that is the first thing, your motivation. That's out of the way. Now let's talk our programming itself. So what's next? Now you are motivated. You have a reason. Okay, you have a reason to want to start learning programming. What do you do next? So the next thing is that you have to settle on which programming language to learn. So write that down. You have to settle on which programming language to learn. There are a lot of programming languages. Just like we have human languages, English. Those of you in Ghana, you can talk about the local dialects, Chi, Nzima, Fanti, Ga, Ewe, all those languages. When you go outside Ghana, you can talk about French, you can talk about Spanish, and all those other languages that are available. There are so many languages that you can't even count. In the same way, the programming language is more of the language of the computer. Okay, and there are so many of them. Just like we have several human languages, there are several computer languages, and even the computer languages are in different grades. In different grades, in that we have some that are close to human language. That is, if you write or somebody writes a program, and maybe your little understanding of English, you can be able to interpret. You can interpret that language or code that a person has written, even without in-depth knowledge in that particular programming language. And we have others that you need in-depth knowledge in order to appreciate it, and even some that only the computers appreciate. Okay, so there are different levels of the programming languages, and therefore you have to settle on the particular programming language that you need to learn. But how then do you settle on the programming language? So this is the meat of that point. How to settle on the particular programming language that you require. When it comes to deciding which one to go for, the advice I give you is what at all are your end goals? What do you look at to build? Is it a website that you intend to be able to design? So when I got the book that I was going to use, it was about websites. So when I was starting my programming journey, it was more of I want to be able to build a website, or I want to be able to create websites and market it to people, sell it and make money off that skill. Okay, but you could also decide as I want to build mobile applications or desktop applications or cloud-based applications. We even have web-based applications. So these are a host of things that you can do with programming, but you need to determine which of them you want to do. So is it websites you want to learn how to build? Is it the softwares that you use, like Microsoft Word, all those kind of softwares that you use, the desktop applications that you use? Is that what you are interested in? What things are you interested in building with your programming knowledge? Is it mobile apps? Because each of these has different programming languages that you need to learn. So depending on what you decide to use, you are going to learn a specific language. So let's mention something. I've mentioned that there are mobile apps. Even for mobile apps, you have to determine whether you want to build mobile apps for Android or for iOS devices. After you settle down on this, then you can now look at the programming languages to start with. Okay, so you don't just start programming by saying that I want to become a programmer, let me learn any language at all. I say that there are a lot of languages. For instance, you can't say that I want to go and stay in Cote d'Ivoire, so now let me learn Fanti. Fanti, which is a local dialect in Ghana. You can't say because you want to go to Cote d'Ivoire, or I don't know where I'm going to, I just want to learn a language, so let me learn Fanti. And when I learn a Fanti, I now move to Cote d'Ivoire to go and stay there. Come on. It's the same thing. You have to know where your destination is. So if it is Cote d'Ivoire I want to go, and I know that they speak French, then I have to start learning French so that when I go, I'll be able to survive there. Okay, so before you even begin a programming journey, have your end in mind. What kind of softwares are you intending to be able to build? What kind of apps do you want to build? Is it desktop applications that you want to build? Maybe you want to build softwares for companies to use. But even with that, the question is, do you want those softwares to run on a browser? That is what we call web-based applications. Or do you want those softwares to run on their own standalone applications, or we can call them desktop applications? So when you decide on any of these, this will inform you on which programming languages to learn. So I hope you have your notepad and your books around. I'm going to make mention of some of the programming languages that you can learn and some of the things that you can use them for. So you can start writing them down. And I hope so far you are enjoying the way the lesson is going. Let me know in the comment section if you're enjoying it. Say enjoying so that I can proceed and give you the things. And those of you who just joined us, to introduce yourself in the comment, let me know where you're coming from so that I will know how best to serve you. Okay, so now we are talking about the programming languages that you can learn. We've already established that you need to know your destination, or you have to choose. It is not as if when you start, you are going to know that exactly this is what I am just interested in. I want to build, how do you call, I want to build standalone applications, or I want to build apps for iOS devices. Sometimes when you start, you may not have that knowledge. Okay, but whatever be the case, you have to choose one of these destinations. That is why I kept mentioning them. So if you have a pen and a notepad, just write it somewhere. Mobile apps, you can look at building mobile apps, you can look at building desktop applications, you can look at building web-based applications, you can look at building cloud-based applications. So all these are forms of applications that you can look at building, or I mean, you can target, or you can make your destination. Okay, so when you choose one, so let's say that now I decided I'm going to build mobile apps, and for the mobile apps I'm going to build for Android devices. All right, so when you decide that you're going to build mobile apps for Android devices, then now the question becomes, which programming language should I learn? Okay, so I can see your comments coming in. Those of you who are enjoying it, well noted. And let's keep on. Get your notepad and your pen, because today I'm not using any PowerPoint. I've jotted my points here. So also get your notepad and your pen so that you'll be able to jot them as I explain them. Okay, so for the various programming languages, let's start from mobile apps development. If you want to become a mobile app development, we have two forms of programming languages that we can look at. We have what we call native programming for mobile apps, meaning those languages are specifically made for creating mobile apps. Okay, then we have the hybrid form. So the hybrid form are those that are not specifically made for creating mobile apps, but they have been adapted to be able to create mobile apps with them. Okay, so if you want to even learn programming in order to create mobile apps, this is another decision that you have to make. Do you want to learn just the native languages, or you want to learn the hybrid ones? Then you make a decision from there. If you have any questions along the line, don't hesitate to put the questions in the comment section so that any appropriate time I'll answer those questions. Okay, so let's carry on. We've talked about mobile apps. For some of the languages, we can use what we call Kotlin. Kotlin, mostly for Android app development. That is one language that people use. That's why I'm saying get your notepads and your pens, because I'm going to mention a lot of programming languages, and eventually, based on what your destination is or what you are interested in building, you choose one or two of these languages to learn. Okay, so I just mentioned Kotlin for Android development. You can have Flutter. Flutter is also a new programming language. It came not so long ago comparing to others, but it's more of a hybrid programming language. And with this kind of hybrid, what it means is that you can build both Android and iOS devices, or I mean applications for these devices. So for instance, if I know Flutter, what it means is that I can write a code that will work as a mobile app on an Android device and at the same time on an iOS device. So that is one language that you can learn, Flutter, Flutter. Then we can talk about Python. Python for standalone applications, and for all those of you who are also interested in data analysis, who are interested in machine learning, artificial intelligence, and the like, Python is a very great language for you. So when you decide that you are going to learn programming, that is what I'm saying. You need to establish all these things. Are you learning the programming language because you are interested in artificial intelligence, or because you want to do some sort of data analysis? And when you decide on this, now the question becomes, which programming language should you learn? So something like that, if your interest is in artificial intelligence, or your interest is in machine learning, automation, and the like, and programming in Python is one important language that you want to learn. Python. So that is Python for you. You can equally use Python for web-based applications. All right, so you can use it to build apps or applications that will run in a browser. So that is also powerful. Python is in fact very, very powerful, and therefore it's also very easy to understand. Yes, I kind of started in a way with Python some time back, like when I wanted to learn backend. I'll talk about those things, but I started with Python in a way, and I know it's very easy. Even though I've not been using it so much, I was still teaching people Python. So I know that it's very easy to go about it. So if your interest is in any of these, artificial intelligence, web applications, what is it, machine learning, automation, any of these things, data analysis, Python should be a go-to programming language that you would choose. Okay. Now, C++ is there, Java. These two are very, very important that you can use. You can learn any of them, C++, and that's usually if you want to build the standalone application, desktop applications. You can do that with Java, you can do that with C++. There is what we also call Visual Basic, VB. VB too can help you create standalone applications or desktop applications, which is very easy. Okay, so if your interest is in being able to build softwares that people can install on their computers and use, then you want to be looking at any of these. You want to look at VB, which is Visual Basic, or you want to look at Java, or you want to look at C++. Any of these can help you. Even Python can help you, but with Python, even with most of these, you also have to learn some additional frameworks in order to use them to build the standalone application or the desktop application. But with VB is going to help you. VB has some sort of more drag and drop portion. So if it is a button that you want in your software, you can drag the button and drop it at a position that you want. So you can take a look at Visual Basic if you are interested in building desktop applications. If you have any questions, ask them in the comment section. Now let's talk about my very own dear HTML. So when it comes to web-based applications or applications that will need a browser to run or websites that building of websites, okay, we use what we refer to as a markup language. So you get the techie guys talking about HTML not necessarily being a language, not being a programming language. However, for the purpose of this lesson, I am taking it as a programming language because, in fact, it is a markup language. Okay, it is hypertext markup language. That's the full form for HTML. So it is one programming language that will help you mark up any web application or website. What it means is that the layout, the structure of your website, okay, or the skeleton of your website comes from HTML. So if you are here right now and you are interested in building websites or being able to develop websites, then the language that you should be interested in is HTML. Fortunately for me, I came with the book I began with. So this is the book that I began with. And at the time, I didn't even have a computer to start learning. So not having a computer to learn with, I didn't have a smartphone. There was no computer, but I still learned HTML with this book. If you are watching me live right now, or even if you are watching the replay, what it tells me is that you either have a computer or you have a smartphone. Meaning for you, you are even at an advantageous position compared to my situation when I started. So you have no excuse not to succeed when it comes to learning programming. I learned how to program without having a PC or a phone. I'll talk to you about how I did that, but this was the book that I used to learn the HTML. And now you don't necessarily need a hard copy book like this to start learning. You can get any soft copy. There are a lot of books out there. We'll even talk about it. But now let me talk about HTML. As I keep saying, you just need HTML if you are interested in building websites. If your interest is in building web applications or applications that will run in browsers. And now it's becoming a thing of the day. When you go to all these banking halls, because you have to network various computers, you have to interconnect various branches. Okay, so these are created such that they will run in the browser and run on the internet. Okay, so you can equally build a well sophisticated platform or website or software that solely runs in a browser. When we say it runs in a browser, the simple thing is that it means you don't need to go and install. You just need a web address to access it. So currently, myself and my team has a software that we call the iCreate Suite, and it's a software that runs in a browser as it stands now. And what is being used for is that it's being used as a store management software, meaning any store at all can buy this software and use it to manage their inventory, to manage their sales and their accounting aspect of the business. So you can do a whole lot of things with this. But let me be quick to add that HTML alone cannot help you build these things. So HTML will be the basis if you are interested in these web-based applications, but that is not the sole language that you need. There are additional languages that you are going to learn. One is CSS. CSS is more of what will make, or the language that you use to beautify the application that you are building. That is CSS. So those of you who are interested in doing web-based applications, you also have to consider learning CSS. But it's not necessarily that you have to start learning all of them together. When we get to advice portion, I'll talk about these things. But CSS is very important for you to be able to beautify your website, changing the colors, changing the layout, and a whole lot of things, the font styles and the font size. All these things, you can change them with CSS. Then, on the other hand, we have JavaScript. So JavaScript is used to increase interactions on this application. So when I click a button, I want a pop-up to come or a modal box to come up. All these form of interactions that happen on a website is controlled by JavaScript. Okay, so if you're interested in learning how to build web-based applications, then you will be targeting HTML, you will be targeting JavaScript, you will be targeting CSS. However, these three things that I've mentioned, or these three languages that I've mentioned, are used to create the front end of the web-based applications. So for any program, any software, any application, there is what we refer to as the front end and the back end. The front end is what you see when you go to the site. So right now you are watching this live session on YouTube. What you are seeing on YouTube right now is the front end. Everything that you see, how it's arranged, where the chat button is, all those things are front end stuff. But when you comment, when you like, when you share, like even when I started the thing for you to be able to see it, something happens behind the scene that the naked eye cannot see. That is the back end. Okay, so there are three languages: HTML, CSS, JavaScript helps you do front end development. Then now we can look at back end development. So with the back end, that is what is going to help you code what happens when something is done. When somebody writes a comment, where should it show? When somebody clicks the like button, what should happen? Those ones are your back end. Okay, so and even when it comes to saving data, retrieving data, and the likes, those ones has to do with your back end, and even database as well. So some of the languages you can consider for web-based application back end. Commonly, I use PHP, but you can equally use Python for it. And there are a number of other languages, but mostly I prefer the PHP. And nowadays too, we have a number of JavaScript frameworks that you can use as a back end. So there are a lot of frameworks for JavaScript. And even some of these JavaScript frameworks, you can use them to build mobile applications. So back to even mobile applications, you can learn JavaScript and be able to build mobile applications. So JavaScript, in fact, if left to me alone, I'll say it's a must learn for every programmer, because you can use JavaScript to do a whole lot of things. And there are a lot of frameworks that JavaScript has that you can use. So we have Node.js, we have Angular, we have React, we have React Native. React Native is a framework that you can use to build mobile apps. But all these things are coming out of JavaScript. So you have to learn JavaScript before you learn any of these. That is the ideal way, even though some people jump steps and learn these individual frameworks. But the ideal thing is for you to learn the mother language before you learn the framework. If you have any questions, ask them in the comment section so that I can answer them for you. Okay. Now, we've talked about how to settle on the programming language to use, and I've mentioned a number of programming languages. That's not an exhaustive list. There are a whole lot of them that I can't make mention of right now. But I hope at least what I've talked about so far gives you a fair idea of where to begin from. Now, the next thing will be, what do you need to become a programmer? That's what we are going to talk about. I say I like to make things simple for you. So I say there are two things that you need. Yes, just two things. You need just two things to become an expert programmer. So what are these two things? What are these two things? The first one is what kind, sorry, no. So the two things that I'm talking about is, one, how do you learn the chosen programming language? Then two, how do you practice it? basically. So these are the two things that you need: how to learn it and how to practice it. When you talk about how to learn it, now I made mention of using a book. Obviously, it is one of the ways. This is a very intuitive book, and I must say that it has really helped me a lot. You see how beautiful the book is. I sat down, learned all these things. That is when I began programming. Let me show you how. Yes. So what this book does is that they write the code in a box like this. You see, this is sample code. Then they show you the outcome that you should expect. So that is how I started learning programming. I didn't have a book, I didn't have a computer, I didn't have a phone. I was just using the output that they have given. What this tells you is that at any point in time, you need a material that you are going to learn, but you need a material that you are going to also be practicing with to see the outcome of what you are learning. All right, so how are you going to learn it and how are you going to practice? Those are the two things that you need. When it comes to learning, now YouTube has a lot of information, a lot of videos that you can use to learn, a lot of tutorials that you can use to learn. It is not my number one recommendation, but it is free for everyone. So you don't have an excuse. One thing about videos teaching you as compared to books that we use, for books, it takes a long time. At least for my personal experience, reading a book takes a long time, and sometimes it doesn't illustrate well because you may end up doing something which may not be the exact aim. Sometimes even the font style that was used, a comma looks like a full stop, and you don't know whether it is a full stop or a comma. And just because of that, your code is not running and it's frustrating you. So usually starting with a video course is the best or the ideal way. And I recommend courses over just normal YouTube videos because the courses are well drafted just for you to take you from a particular step or point to another point. Okay, anyone creating an online course would have taught so much about it. It's just like you being in a normal classroom and a person teaching you. However, when they are doing YouTube videos, it's more like I need to beat the time. I need to fit something to engage the individual because it is free. If somebody has not paid for it, I can't force them to be watching my video. You know, this live that we are doing is free, so I can't force anyone to come and watch it. However, if the people who registered for this live had paid something, you will see how they'll be struggling to be here. Okay, so that is the same notion. The people who are doing the paid courses, making it available online, those ones, they know that obviously you are giving money, so they have to give you value for your money. They have to give you value for your money. That is what they look out for. So I recommend that you use online courses. And because of that, last week's sessions of the digital school, we looked at how to get paid online courses for free. So if you weren't around or you are yet to watch that session, I still have it here on YouTube. So kindly check for the previous digital school session, and you'll find out how to get some of these courses, online courses, for free. However, YouTube is still an option for you, and you can download books. Yes, so one of the books that I used to use for various programming languages that I learned is For Dummies. For Dummies. I think this time maybe I should try sharing my screen and see. For Dummies. So hold on, let me see something. Yes. Okay. So let me isolate this and share. Hang on, let me share my screen with you. Let me show you something. Yes. So for any of the good. All right. So for any of the languages that you choose, for any of the programming languages that you choose to learn, You can just come here, JavaScript for Dummies, if it is JavaScript you want to see. And as you can see down here, we have Java for Dummies, coding for Dummies, Python for Dummies, C++ for Dummies, SQL for Dummies. There are a lot of them. And in fact, in one of my YouTube tutorials that I created, I talked about, sorry, I hope you can see this. Okay. Were you able to, let me see. Okay, good. So if I hope those of you watching can see my screen. So I've actually done a YouTube video on my other YouTube channel called J Student Wallet. And those of you in the iCreate community, I'll share the link to you how to download some of these books, the various websites where you can get any of these books for free. Okay, but any language that you choose, if you want a book, the one that I recommend most is for Dummies, because for Dummies makes the things easier, way simple. It is very, very simple when you use for Dummies. Okay, so just choose a language. If it is Python, Python for Dummies, then download that book. It will help you out. So that is how to learn a programming language. We've covered that one, how to learn a programming language. Tools for practice. Tools for practice. Yes. So that is why I told you the story of how I learned how to program, even though I didn't have a smartphone and I didn't have a computer. So how did I do it? And I've shared with you that I was using this book. So what I will do is that, let's say, okay, let me try and show you from the beginning. They do getting started, set up a web page. Okay, so when you going to set up a web page, they teach you how to create your document, your first document. So in fact, those things I couldn't practice them. But the part where, let's say, I need to create a test, I need to center the test. I had a notebook. It's not here. That one is not here. This is the textbook I use, but my notebook that I use isn't here. The next time, maybe I'll try and find a notebook and share some of the things I used to do in it with you. So when I learn something from the book, I'll keep the book away and try writing out the code. It's not the best way to learn. It's not as if I'm recommending that for you right now. Okay, I'm not recommending that you do it with your book, but I'm telling you the possibilities that not having a laptop of your own, not even having a smartphone of your own, is not an excuse for you not to learn programming. Okay, because I equally learned programming without any of them, and it was just by learning and coming to practice. So I'll come and write the code, then afterwards I'll go and compare. It's not as if I was just memorizing things. It comes with understanding. So if I need to come up with a title, what do I need? What tag do I need? What code do I need to write? Because even when you are doing your normal programming, it's a similar thing that you are going to do. Okay, when you understand it, you can always recall it to type it out or write it down. So that is what I did. When I learn it, I try to understand it, then I'll go and replicate it. Even though I don't get the result or the outcome of the code I was writing, I always came back to the book and compared what I had written with what is expected from me in the book. You think it's not an effective way of learning? I agree with you. However, when I inquired, even most of the people reading computer science in school do not necessarily, in their exams, like I can talk at least for people in Ghana who are reading computer science. Most of them, unless maybe this year or last year since the pandemic hit, that things have changed. I can't really tell, but my colleagues who were reading computer science were actually writing exams, their code, they were writing it on a sheet of paper for their lecturers to mark it. Yes, so even if computer science students who are paying so much to learn these languages or these IT stuff are writing it in their hands and not using a computer, you have no excuse not to learn these things. Okay, so let's move on. But now, if you have a smartphone and you have a laptop, that is what I recommend you are going to use. For various languages, we have something we call IDEs. So for a language like Python, you need an IDE. IDE is, I think, integrated development environment. Okay, so for each language, there is an IDE that you need. However, some of the languages don't require an IDE. You need what we call a text editor. So for a language like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, these ones, and even PHP, you need what we refer to as text editors. There are a lot of the text editors. There is one called Visual Studio. What I prefer mostly is Sublime Text. So there is Sublime Text 3. You can search for that. Let me share my screen and see if I can share. I can search for those ones. Okay. Sublime Text. So if you need, yes, if you need to download any of the software, you can add Get Into PC to it. Then visit the website getintopc.com to download that particular software. Okay, I'm not affiliated in any way to this platform. I've already created a video on it, how to download an app from here, a software from here, on my other YouTube channel, which is GH Student Wallet. You can check it out. But this is how Sublime Text looks like. This is the interface. So when you are coding PHP, when you are coding JavaScript, when you are coding HTML, CSS, you can use this. There are a lot of others. We have Visual Studio, as I've said. There is also Atom. There is Atom. There is Notepad++. There are a lot of them. In fact, you shouldn't even let this worry you. Just choose one of them and go with it. If you want a recommendation from me, I use Sublime Text 3. So just download Sublime Text 3 and use it. For if you are interested in PHP, JavaScript, CSS, HTML, these ones you need a text editor, so you can use those ones. But for the other languages like Python, you need a special IDE, as I've said already. So depending on the language that you choose, you have to look for the exact tools that is required for you to practice. And I keep saying that it's a very long journey, so you have to keep practicing and practicing and practicing. So basically, I've talked about the journey from your motivation, why you want to learn programming. I've talked about how to settle on a programming language to learn. Then now what you need to learn that programming language. So what you need to learn and the tools that you need to practice. Now let me give you a few advice about programming, and this is coming from my own experience and the number of people that I have had to teach along the line. I've actually taught a lot of people programming, and unfortunately not all of them are programmers, and majority of them could not even stick with it. That is why I decided to start this live session with what your motivation is. Because if you don't have a strong motivation, I've said already that the frustrations will get in and you may stop like soon after even getting into it. All right. So I am drawing closer to the end of today's session, but I want to give you a few advice. If you have any questions, ask them in the comment section. A few advice. Note that for programming, there is no way you will become an expert in one day. There is no way, let me repeat it. There is no way you will become an expert at any programming language in one day. So the question that I get asked often when it comes to these things are, which is the easiest programming language to learn? The moment you begin this journey with which is the easiest to learn, you may be in for a surprise, because somebody will tell you this is easy. Well, sometimes I read online comments online about people saying how easy a particular programming language is or how difficult another is. Okay, but I've told you that to begin with, that shouldn't be your interest. Your interest should be, one, why do you even want to start programming? And two, which destination are you looking at? So you are not looking for the easiest language. You are looking for with the kind of app or software you want to build. Which language can I use to build it? Okay, so instead of going to ask which is the easiest so that you go and learn that, rather go and ask which of the programming languages can I use to build something like this. So if you want to build platform like Facebook, which programming language do you need to build it? Do you want to build your own YouTube? Which programming language do you need to build it? That should be the question you ask, and not which language is the easiest. So if somebody tells you that, let's say, HTML is the easiest to learn, it doesn't mean that today, when you sit down and watch all the tutorials on HTML, just today, you are going to be an expert in it. No, 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 no. It doesn't work that way. It comes with practice. You have to be willing to spend a lot of time practicing what you learn. You are going to learn a lot of things. You are going to relearn a lot of things. You are going to unlearn a lot of things as you keep going on in your programming journey. And it is one journey that you have to be consistent. Let me say that again. So when I started learning, I told you in 2012. So 2013, I was home after I completed university. 2013, 2014, 2013, 2014, I was home, and that was when I started. I got a laptop, so I started learning and practicing some of these things. 2014, I got admission into the university. I came into the university with higher hopes, because now I am in the university. There is Wi-Fi there. I can make use of the Wi-Fi to download tutorial videos and use it to practice the things that I was interested in. Well, I wasn't so disappointed. I had access to them, but not too long into my academic semester, it got so hot that I couldn't get time for programming. So at a point, I had to stop. I wasn't doing any form of programming. In the early weeks of the first semester, I was teaching some people programming, so it was fresh, and I was doing it. I was eager to make money from this thing, so I was doing it. But along the line, when I realized that the course was becoming tougher and tougher, like more stressful, I go to class close at 5, and by the time I come back, I have a lot of assignments. I have to prepare for a quiz, plenty things. I just couldn't add up my programming, so I stopped. Up until second semester. Second semester, I think I did the least number of courses. So that was when, even though it wasn't less stressful in any way, but I felt that this was an opportunity for me, because if I don't get to learn this or stay with this, if I don't make it a habit from now, there is no way I'll come back to it. So by hook or crook, I needed to. That was when I made a decision. Funny enough, by that time I had made a decision to stick to programming, had virtually forgotten most of the things that I knew. The programming stuff that I had learned, I had forgotten most of them. So that is why I am advising you that if you want to start your journey to becoming a programmer, then you have to be ready to consistently stay on track, practicing and doing. Like, set targets for yourself, projects, give yourself projects and start working on it as you start learning. So with the basis that you've learned, what can you do with it? You know, one thing that also kept me going when I started learning programming with HTML was that I could easily go off and brag with the things that I've done. That I created a web page. In fact, nobody in my family knew how to create a web page. So I could go around the whole house shouting how I've created a web page, and I'll show it around to them. Check this thing out. Check my computer. I've created a website. The website bears my name, blah, blah, blah. And because of that, a lot of people wanted to know the kind of things I knew. It was like magic, like you doing some magic, and everybody is interested. How did you do it? How did you do it? So that one alone also kept me motivated, and it kept pushing me to do it. All right. So you need results to show for what you are doing, what you are learning. When there are no results, so one of the reasons why I didn't follow through with the learning of Python, I'm not saying you shouldn't go and learn Python. If that is what you need for the kind of destination you're looking at, you should go ahead and learn it. I didn't get this kind of advice when I started out. So when I started doing Python, I kind of wanted something that I could go and show off. But unfortunately, it wasn't so with Python. I couldn't really show off. Even though I could show off the things I did a calculator and all those things, I could show them off, but it needed to be just on my laptop. I needed to have that IDE open before I could show it off to somebody. Unlike when I started with website design. Okay, so sometimes you need something to boost you, like you need something to show off the work that you are doing. If there is no result to what you are doing, then you may end up stopping prematurely. Okay, so the advice here is that you have to keep practicing and at least share with other people what you are doing. The reason why I am advising that you share with other people, like I say, I keep telling people about the websites I was designing, the kind of things I was doing, and because of that, now when people need websites, I am the go-to person they call because they know that for years I've been doing this since, so I have the expertise or I have the experience to be able to build them the website. Okay, so if you keep it all to yourself alone and you don't show it out, nobody will know to come and patronize you. Today, the people in your circle may not need that kind of service that you are going to be offering in the future after learning this programming language. But these same people may be the connection to a job somewhere that you get, okay, a gig somewhere that you get. So you need to let them be aware that now I'm learning this, I'm learning how to make mobile apps, I'm learning this. You create a mobile app, you show it to them. When I started learning Android development, when I created the very first app, come and see. Everybody needs to see that I've created the first Android app. Okay, even though that Android app didn't do much, but I still needed everybody to see it because next tomorrow when I need people to act as, let's say, advertisers for me, these are the same people that I will call on because they know me and they know what I can do. So keep on telling people or showing them the result of what you are doing. Then the next thing, the next advice I would give you is that link up with like-minded people. You need people who are also equally interested in the kinds of things you are interested in, especially the programming languages. The reason why it is so is that there's going to be a lot of frustration. I keep saying it, and it is true. The journey is not rosy. There's going to be a lot of frustration. However, some of the very petty mistakes that you will make, some of these colleagues of yours or these people who are also like-minded like you are or have gone through it. They've experienced it before. So the moment you say it, the moment you make mention of it, they're able to prompt you that no, it is because you made this mistake. For instance, if you write an HTML code right now and it's not working, and you call me to tell me what the problem is, I'll be able to pinpoint to you that it's probably because you've done this and that. That is why this is happening. Okay, so whatever be the case, it is important for you to link up with like-minded people. Fortunately for me, when I was in the university, even though I was a pharmacy student, I had a colleague who was a computer science student. I had another friend who was an actuarial science student who was also equally interested in some of these things. And we shared thoughts. Even till now, I have a lot of colleagues who are into different things. So at any point in time, when I am stuck at anything I thought, I know who to call. So because of that, you need to link up with some of these people. Okay, so if you have any questions, I think now is the right time for me to take the questions so that I will clear the air for you. Then we'll end this session for today. Maybe in the next session of Digital School, I'll bring on another person to come and share his experience on programming or how to become a programmer, or specifically take one of the programming languages and we'll delve into it. But for now, that is a lesson that I had for you today. Let me go through the comments. Sorry, Abu Nash, sorry for your weather issues. For that purpose, I'll still leave the video here on YouTube so you can watch it later. All right. The name of the book I showed. Wow. What's the name? Yes. So the name of the book is, I don't know if you can see, Creating Web Pages with HTML Simplified. This is a very old book. Now I don't know if it will be available. It's from hungryminds.com. Hungryminds.com. It's actually a very good book, so you can check it out. I don't know if you get the same book, and it doesn't mean you necessarily need this book in order to become a good programmer. Any of the books that I even mentioned, the Dummies, for Dummies, I've used for Dummies for most of the things that I did. Okay, this is what just got me started. In fact, I can say this is what sparked my interest, creating web pages with HTML. When I saw it, I knew that there was something in there for me. So I was sorry. So I just went for it and used it. It doesn't necessarily mean that you need that particular book. Okay. Yes. So if there are no questions, then we'll be bringing the session to an end. If there are no questions, if you have any question, do ask it right now. Then also, if you are yet to join the iCreate community, then visit this site. Let me put it there. Okay. Sorry. Where? Oh. Please let me project it for you on your open.com/iCreate. Yes. Okay. All right, so you can visit this site oniaobed.com/iCreate to join the iCreate community on Facebook. Okay, if you are yet to join the iCreate community on Facebook. Then next weekend to same time next weekend, we are going to have another session of the digital school, the very topic. And if I'm bringing on another a guest, I will definitely communicate it in the various iCreate community. So we have groups on WhatsApp and we have a Facebook group. So I'll communicate all these to you. Thank you all for being here. Faustina, thank you. Nathaniel, Francis, Abu, Tribeless, Nami, all of you. Thank you all for participating. And I hope you enjoyed today's session. And I look forward to seeing you in next week's digital school session. So till next week, it's bye.